Have you ever wondered why Russia's fifth-generation stealth fighter has been in development for over 20 years but almost nobody's actually flying it? Or why their closest ally India pulled out of the program after investing billions? Well, strap in, because the Su-57 Felon is Russia's most ambitious aviation project that turned into their most embarrassing failure. Today, we're exposing 15 weird facts about this so-called stealth fighter that can't stay stealthy, can't get built, and can't even convince anyone to buy it. And trust me, number one will show you just how catastrophically wrong this program went. Hit that like button, subscribe for more, and let's dissect Russia's paper tiger. 15. Stealth in question. Let's start with the fundamental problem. The Su-57 isn't actually stealthy by Western standards. Close-up photos reveal exposed rivets, panel gaps, and uneven surfaces that scatter radar waves like a disco ball. The engine nozzles are fully exposed from behind, creating massive radar returns. Western stealth jets have carefully hidden engine compressor faces and flush surfaces. The Su-57 looks stealthy from certain angles, specifically the front, but from sides and rear it lights up radar screens. Russia essentially redefined what stealth means to fit their manufacturing capabilities. They claim reduced radar cross-section compared to fourth-generation fighters, which is true. But compared to F-22 or F-35, not even close. The Su-57 is stealthy the way a gray car is less visible than a red one. Technically true, functionally meaningless against modern radar systems. Fifth generation by marketing, fourth generation plus by reality. 14. Production disaster. Here's where things get genuinely embarrassing. After over 15 years of development, Russia has built only 10 to 15 actual Su-57s. Not hundreds, not dozens, maybe 15 jets total. The original order was for 76 aircraft, then cut to 12, then delayed indefinitely. Russia simply cannot afford to build them in meaningful numbers. Compare this to China cranking out 200-plus J-20s in the same time frame, or America's 1,000-plus F-35s across all variants. The Su-57 exists primarily in propaganda videos and airshow demonstrations. It's a paper tiger with almost no real operational fleet. Most of those built are prototypes and test aircraft, not combat-ready jets. Russia keeps announcing new orders and production plans that never materialize. The economic reality is brutal. Russia's entire military budget can't sustain fifth-generation fighter production at scale. The Su-57 became a symbol of Russian ambition, crashing into economic limitations. 13. India abandoned it. India was supposed to be Russia's development partner, co-funding the program and buying hundreds of jets. They invested billions of dollars in years of collaboration. Then India walked away completely. They pulled out of the partnership, abandoned their investment, and publicly cited concerns about performance, technology transfer, and capability gaps. This is Russia's closest military ally, a country that buys almost everything from Russian defense contractors, and even they lost confidence. India chose to buy French Rafales instead, paying more for a proven fourth-generation design rather than gambling on Russia's troubled fifth-generation program. The Indian withdrawal was a massive vote of no confidence that sent shockwaves through defense circles. When your most loyal customer publicly dumps your flagship product, that's not a good sign. Russia lost credibility, funding, and international validation all at once. The Su-57 became an isolated Russian project rather than a global competitor. 12. Engine problems. The Su-57 is flying with the wrong engines. Seriously, the jet uses AL-41F1 engines, which are upgraded versions of older technology from Su-35 fighters. These are interim engines, placeholders until the real engines are ready. The promised Isdelie 30 engines designed specifically for the Su-57 are still not operational after years of development. This matters enormously. The interim engines don't provide enough thrust for proper supercruise, the ability to maintain supersonic speeds without afterburners. The F-22 does this effortlessly. The Su-57 can't, not with current engines. It's underpowered for its size and weight. When Russia finally demonstrates Su-57s with the new engines, they tout it as a breakthrough. 11. Ukraine exposure. The Su-57's performance in Ukraine exposed brutal realities. Russia barely used their most advanced fighter in actual combat. Why? Because it's either too valuable to risk or too unreliable to trust. Propaganda videos showed Su-57s flying near the conflict, but actual combat deployment was minimal to non-existent. Russia lost air superiority to Ukraine's 1980s-era jets backed by Western air defense systems. The fifth-generation fighter that was supposed to dominate couldn't even establish control over a neighbor with a fraction of Russia's military budget. When Su-57s did fly, they launched missiles from Russian airspace, never entering contested zones. The jet designed to challenge American stealth fighters was afraid to engage Ukrainian MiG-29s and Su-27s. This failure revealed the Su-57 as either non-functional for real combat or so few in number that losing even one would be catastrophic. 10. Exposed weapons bay. The Su-57's internal weapons bays are hilariously badly designed. They don't close flush with the fuselage. Visible gaps remain even when closed. Weapons stored internally are partially exposed to airflow and radar. This completely defeats the purpose of internal weapons carriage. Western stealth fighters have precisely engineered bay doors that seal perfectly, maintaining clean surfaces. The Su-57's bays look like they were added as an afterthought, which they probably were. Photos show uneven panels, visible hinges, and gaps you could stick your fingers through. This isn't minor. These imperfections create radar reflections, increase drag, and compromise stealth dramatically. It's amateur hour engineering on a supposedly fifth-generation platform. 9. Cockpit technology lag. Step inside the Su-57's cockpit, and you're transported to the 1990s. Analog instruments sit alongside digital displays like someone couldn't decide which era to inhabit. There's no advanced helmet-mounted display system initially, something even fourth-generation Western fighters have had for years. The screens are smaller and less integrated than F-35's panoramic displays. Compare this to the F-35, where the entire cockpit is designed around a massive touchscreen and helmet display that lets pilots see through the aircraft. The Su-57 looks like someone took a 1990s cockpit and bolted some flat screens onto it. Later, variants reportedly added helmet displays, but even then they lag behind Western equivalents by a decade or more. The exterior might scream modern stealth fighter, but the interior reveals the technological gap. Pilots need advanced interfaces to manage fifth-generation capabilities. The Su-57's cockpit suggests those capabilities might not actually exist to manage. 8. Price tag lies. Russia claims the Su-57 costs less than an F-35, supposedly around $50 to $60 million per aircraft. This is obvious propaganda nonsense. The numbers don't add up with production reality. Development costs are conveniently hidden in other budget categories. Russia's accounting makes Hollywood accounting look transparent. Actual unit cost is probably much higher, potentially exceeding $100 million when you factor in real development expenses and tiny production runs. Small production quantities always increase per unit cost dramatically. Building 15 jets spreads development costs over 15 units instead of 1,000. The F-35's price dropped below $80 million through economies of scale. The Su-57 can't achieve those economies because Russia can't build enough jets. The claimed affordability is propaganda designed to make the program look successful and attract export customers. Reality is Russia probably can't afford their own advertised price, which explains why they've barely built any. 7. Copy or original? The Su-57's design looks suspiciously familiar if you've seen other stealth fighters. The overall shaping clearly draws inspiration from the F-22, particularly the angular fasting and nose configuration. Some elements look borrowed from China's J-20, or maybe China borrowed from Russia. The espionage flows both directions. The vertical takeoff technology incorporated comes from the failed Yak-141 VTOL fighter program. It's a Frankenstein jet assembled from multiple sources. Now, borrowing proven concepts isn't necessarily bad. China did it successfully with the J-20, but Russia borrowed the appearance without mastering the underlying engineering. They copied the shape, but couldn't replicate the manufacturing precision, materials science, or systems integration that make Western stealth actually work. 6. Syria show-off. Russia deployed Su-57s to Syria for what they called combat testing. This was pure propaganda theater. The jets flew missions against defenseless targets in controlled conditions. They bombed rebels with no air force and no advanced air defenses. Russia called this proving the aircraft in combat. It's like testing a Formula One car by driving through a school zone and claiming victory. The Su-57 never faced real air opposition, never encountered modern surface-to-air missiles, and never operated in a contested environment. Western jets proved themselves against peer threats. The F-35 flies into airspace defended by advanced Russian-made systems. The Su-57 flew over Syria where the only threat was small arms fire. This deployment was about generating propaganda footage for domestic consumption and potential export customers. 5. Maintenance nightmare. The Su-57 requires extensive maintenance hours per flight hour, potentially worse than already problematic F-22 and F-35 ratios. The stealth coating is fragile and inconsistently applied, requiring constant repair and inspection. Russia claimed the Su-57 could operate from rough, unprepared airfields, demonstrating ruggedness Western fighters lack. Reality proved different. The jet needs the same careful maintenance and climate-controlled facilities as any stealth aircraft. Its logistics support network is limited because so few exist. Spare parts are scarce. Trained maintenance personnel are rare. Operating stealth fighters is inherently maintenance-intensive, but the Su-57 adds Russian quality control problems on top. Reports suggest the jets spend more time in maintenance than flying. This is a high-maintenance diva pretending to be a rugged workhorse. The operational readiness rates are probably abysmal, which partly explains why Russia barely uses them even during major conflicts like Ukraine. 4. Avionics mystery. Russia claims the Su-57 has amazing radar and sensor capabilities, potentially superior to Western jets. The problem? Nobody can verify this independently. Russia says the N036 Bielka radar can track dozens of targets at hundreds of kilometers. Maybe true, maybe complete fantasy. Western intelligence analysts are deeply skeptical of these specifications. There's no independent testing, no third-party validation, no way to confirm actual performance. The sensors might be genuinely advanced, or they might be overhyped garbage wrapped in propaganda. Previous Russian radar systems often underperformed compared to specifications. The Su-57's avionics exist in an information black hole where Russian claims meet Western skepticism with no objective truth available. 3. Export failure. Despite years of marketing efforts, exactly 0 countries have bought the Su-57. Algeria expressed interest but never committed to orders. China, usually interested in Russian military technology, passed on it entirely and built their own J-20 instead. This is devastating. Export sales are crucial for military aircraft programs. They spread development costs, create economies of scale, and validate the design internationally. The Su-57 has none of this. Even countries desperate for advanced fighters are choosing alternatives. Turkey, kicked out of the F-35 program, still didn't buy Su-57s. They're developing their own fighter instead. Iran, heavily sanctioned and needing modern jets, hasn't ordered them. 2. NATO named it Felon. NATO assigns reporting names to Russian aircraft, and they gave this one a subtle but devastating insult. The Su-57's reporting name is Felon. Previous Russian jets got relatively cool or neutral names. Flanker, Fulcrum, Foxbat. These sound aggressive, capable, dangerous. Felon? That's associated with criminals, lawbreakers, failures of society. It's NATO throwing shade at Russia's flagship fighter program. Whether intentional or not, the name perfectly captures the jet's problematic nature. It's a felon because it fails to deliver on promises, because it's fraudulent in its stealth claims, because it's a criminal waste of resources. The naming feels like deliberate mockery from Western military establishments. Every time someone says Su-57 Felon, they're subtly calling it a failure. 1. Development Hell Timeline. Here's the ultimate embarrassment. The Su-57 program started in 2002, over 20 years ago, and still isn't properly operational. 2 decades of development produced barely a dozen flyable aircraft with wrong engines, questionable capabilities, and 0 export success. For comparison, the F-35 program started later, faced its own massive problems and delays, became the most criticized military program in history, and still deployed earlier with thousands of jets operational worldwide. China's J-20 program started even later and produced 200-plus aircraft. The Su-57 was supposed to be Russia's answer to the F-22, their entry into 5th-generation fighters, their technological statement to the world. Instead, it became a generational joke, a symbol of Russian decline, a demonstration that ambition without capability produces nothing but propaganda. And there you have it. 15 weird facts proving the Su-57 Felon is Russia's most hyped and least delivered fighter jet in history. From fake stealth to export failures to hiding from actual combat, this jet disappoints at every turn. Which fact shocked you most? The production disaster or India abandoning ship? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button, and subscribe for more fighter jet reality checks. We'll see you in the skies.